Hello and happy holidays from the Purple Sector's F1 podcast, and welcome to the Fan Zone. My name is Kunal Shete, and joining me on the podcast, as always, is unbiased fan and the voice of reason of the podcast, Shashank Shete. And also joining us on the podcast today to talk about his journey as a fan of this incredible sport is a very special guest and a friend of the podcast, True Blood Tifosi and Bandra boy, Arjun Hari. Welcome, Hari. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today? What's happening?
An honor to
How's
be on the show, and I'm looking forward to actively participate and give my two bits on this podcast,
great,
whether
great.
good or bad.
So
No,
what
no,
would you put first,
it is.
Harry? Would you put Ferrari fanboy or Bandra boy? Which comes before?
Always Ferrari.
Wow, Hari.
True Tifosi, how Kunal said it.
Wow, that's crazy, yeah. For a Bandra boy to say, you know what, Tifosi comes before
Yeah.
the Bandra boy, that's something. Noted,
Yeah.
noted, Harry.
No. Yeah. So always,
No,
once a Tifosi, always a Tifosi. Nothing changed.
I mean, that was a great question, and the fact that you put Tifosi ahead of this thing, you should be automatically guaranteed citizenship in Maranello, man. To say this is coming before Bandra, which is
I hope so that happens, Unfortunately, we born in the wrong country. So, sensitive.
oh, Hari. So
Awesome, awesome.
what have you been doing in the postseason? Have you got any withdrawals? Are you thinking about the season, or you're like currently you're good that the season is done and you're just looking forward now? There's no fallback on things that have happened, or you're not thinking about the season gone by. All is well. No withdrawals yet.
Honestly speaking, it's more of a detox for me, which I'm going through because I think for the last few years, the sport has become more of entertainment and less of sport. So there's too much drama going on, which is really not required. So it's a good detox for me to start the new year. Races begin in Feb, so I think I'm just detoxing. Less spoken about Formula One, but it's a great time to begin the year with this podcast. But it's a good detox for me. I mean, I'm not talking about it with anybody
I think
because
I think
I
it's
think
similar for me. Also, it's a good detox. Also, you're kind of rejuvenated, and your interests are, I think, peaked when you take a little bit of a break from anything. So, yeah,
yeah,
it's a good 2 month
it's been more
vacation,
hectic.
and
It's been more hectic last few years,
yeah,
especially with a lot of drama going on in the sport. It's a little overwhelming. So I think a good detox from a massive hangover over a year, I think, is good. So that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah, and as every year we keep saying this since 2007 that hope Ferrari wins
Very,
in the coming year. So yeah,
it's a
just
very
looking forward for the season and less
very
talking.
touchy subject to start
Very
off the
touchy.
show.
Yeah, it's,
2007 is, as 2007 comes, and you just think about what happened after. But anyways,
what are
we'll
you
go into
guys?
all of that.
Are you guys also detoxing or like how Shashu said he's detoxing? Are you
Shashul's
detoxing?
he's doctor, man. He recommends detoxes. That's why he said, yeah, good, you should do like this only.
What about you?
I'm also, what am I doing? I mean, I'm looking at a lot of news and information that's coming out on multiple things. I mean, the most recent thing, not most, what's the biggest news which happened most recently was that that FI going after the Wolves, and then they
That was
getting
bullshit.
complete.
That was
That was
bullshit.
something random, like completely random. But other than that, I don't think there's any real big story that has come out of F1 in the postseason yet.
Lauren Mikes moves to Alpha Tauri as
Yeah.
team.
yeah, I think that's the
Yeah,
lead
that was
story. Otherwise, there's not much happening, which is great. I think everybody needs a little bit of a break.
There's no masala. There's no
Drivers, team
masala story.
principals,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no
There should
masala.
be no masala, man. There should be no.
There
Wait,
should be,
wait,
there
nice.
shouldn't be. I think there's enough masala.
No, because as I think the three of us have started watching the sport. I think when Michael Schumacher just moved to Ferrari. I mean, that's when I started watching the sport, or
Good.
just
I think
about.
that was actually my first question. I mean, it's a good segue into, starting, talking to you as the
Okay.
fan. You know, what was the beginning? When did you start, watching the sport? And what are your early recollections? I think you mentioned Michael, so,
So
was
mid
that your first
nineties
memory?
is when I started watching the sport. It all happened is like every weekend, my parents used to take me to their family friends' house, whether it was a Saturday or Sunday, and there were their kids, like two brothers who were much elder to me, watching the sport. And I mean, I used to get bored, chilling with all these old men and women, and these two brothers were watching the sport together. So, and for me, initially, it was just like how everybody feels that 20 cars going around the circuit and what the hell is going on. And automatically your eyes go on the red car. So it started off like that. Two brothers who I give full credit to, Rahul and Rohit, introduced me to the sport. And there was no turning back after that. Yeah,
So
and
the
I,
late 90s.
yeah,
This
yeah,
was late 90s.
late 90s.
So,
Yeah, I mean, Schumacher just moved to Ferrari and failing miserably. So that's when
oh yeah. That was
it was a
yeah,
tough. Yeah,
moved from Benetton to Ferrari, so around 97, I think.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
96,
90,
97.
95,
90,
96.
95.
Yeah, I think
95.
95, 96. A very similar time to when we started, I think, Kunnu and.
Correct.
And
We
I have
started at
no clue why. I have no clue why we started. At least you have a little bit of a backstory where you were introduced to
Yeah.
it by somebody older than you.
yeah,
For us, it was such a random thing, I think, to start watching a sport like F1, which was absolutely unknown and not heard of in a country like India. I have
yeah,
no
correct.
idea how that connection happened, but then it happened, I think, because we were always. I think we were always into cars for some reason
All of
from
us, yeah,
then, and then I think from there
yeah.
it just went into the F1, and then also, like you said, your eyes went to the right car. So my
Right.
eyes also went to the right car, which wasn't the Ferrari for me.
It was silver, I guess.
It was a Silver Arrows.
Sil-
And also it was I think Kundu's eyes went to the Ferrari guys, and mine went to the Silver Arrows. So it was also something where it was a little bit of a rivalry between not rivalry, but a little bit of a little bit of
Why to
a
support
point of
the same
discussion
team?
between him and me. And it was great it was great banter also, I think, for the both of us to not be following the same or not be supporting the same team or
Team.
driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No, I mean,
it
honestly speaking.
yeah, it started off as that, and then afterwards, obviously, when you're supporting somebody different, then you're going to be watching the sport to get one over the other person. So that was also
Correct.
our start, and probably the first 2 years of first 2 3 years of watching the sport was more for that also, I think.
Correct.
So, Hari, do you incidentally, because you started seeing at the same time, I think you would have also been watching it on Star Sports, and there was this
Star
thing called
Sports, yeah.
Race
Yeah.
Day with Chris Goodwin. You had
Yes.
Paula Mola Ali, and you had just Steve Slater, and it used to be a 4:30 start. I think it was an earlier start in terms of
Earlier,
coverage.
lesser races.
Yeah, much
Correct.
lesser races, much
Correct.
lesser races. Uh,
Races,
but yeah, I think Hari,
Yeah,
you're
no.
saying
16 races. Yeah, I think it was 16 races.
16
right?
races, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was like Sashu said, I think maybe, I don't know, we'll get to this slightly later on, but yeah, within the Indian context, obviously people didn't know anything about the sport, people didn't understand, and for us to watch this also, parents used to also come and see what is going on, what's happening, and we were like super glued, and we were still like I mean, just I'm sure you were also like, once you decided on supporting your eyes
Right.
got the right team.
Yeah.
You also were like, you get once you get into it, there was a certain level of passion, and you watched it not to just see acha, whatever. You wanted, your guys to win. There was that full energy of seeing a pass, a move on the straight, or whatever,
Yeah.
the turning,
And the sound of the cars that time, man.
yeah,
The
it used to sound great on
Absolutely,
television. I can only
absolutely.
imagine how good it was, to see it,
light.
at the
Yeah.
track itself. I mean, that
Yeah.
that would have been even
Yeah.
better. But yeah, for like, so 90s is when you also started. Obviously 98, 99, you would have seen Hakkinen, taking this
Yeah. It
to.
was fierce competition between both.
Yeah, but it was fierce competition
Yeah,
between
it was a great
Schumacher.
season. It was close. It
Yeah, it
wasn't
was great season.
a one-sided season.
It was they were great
Yeah.
season, but again, something that we've talked about on the podcast a couple of times is uh, back then I think there were far fewer brilliant drivers than they are now. I think as a sport at that point you had your Hackinens, Schumachers.
Kimi,
Kimi came
Massa.
slightly. I mean,
Yeah,
Kimi was there,
later.
but obviously he was not with McLaren then.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
had Coulthard, who was like a decent driver. Ferrari always with, if you saw our podcast, the last one, we were talking about number 2 drivers and lineups. And I think Ferrari used to always have a second driver who was far behind
Correct.
Michael,
correct,
who was
correct.
not going to.
Like Eddie Irvine
obviously-
also, who was with
Correct. So these guys were like decent enough. You had one Pablo Montoya who was quick on his day, but he was different level of erratic. Like you don't know what he was going to do. And then
Yeah,
he
I'm
was
sure they would win every race also, knowing the person.
he was a funny guy, man. His press conference also quite
A lot of
good.
respect in him in terms of behavior.
Verstappen,
And Montoya, I mean, both
yeah,
of them
I
are
think to start off with, his driving style also was very much like Montoya in terms of he was just
Yeah.
all in. Like
correct.
he made very rash decisions, and he was super fast, or he would crash, and similar
Yeah.
kind of. I get
Yeah,
it. I totally get it.
I think his moves were a little more similar to Perez. I would say they were not well thought of. Montoya's, I mean.
But that car was brilliant, now whatever you say.
Oh, that
BMW
car,
That was
yeah, the
super fast on
BMW,
the straight.
it was
Yeah.
super fast on the straight. Absolutely like a rocket ship on the straight.
And that engine, I think, was, it used to shriek even louder than the others. I think it used to rev to
Yeah,
19,000 as opposed to 18,000. It was,
Yeah, correct.
if you remember the old Hockenheim track where
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
straights and then into those chicanes through the forest. And I think it used to reverberate further, between the trees and all. And that shrieking of that, especially that
Correct. It was-
BMW was like, it was howling, and without like any, you don't have DRS and all. And with the normal wing, 360, 365,
Yeah, easily.
maybe 355 to 365. It was an insane, it was, I mean, as a kid, I'm just looking at it, all of us were pretty much the same age as a 10, 12-year-old.
Correct.
It's so incredible for your eyes, and more than that, that sound, if you're into cars, or it'll make your hair stand.
Music
Whether-
to the ears, basically.
it's music to the ears, correct. So I think I think there was a great starting point, and honestly the coverage was great there, even though it was very they kept it to the racing. You had Steve Slater, who was a little crack in saying he should
Yeah.
just talk whatever, but he was like that, he'll say something, and then Chris Goodwin used to like, listen, no, this is what
Yeah, you gotta
actually-
chill out, buddy.
you gotta chill out. And Steve Slater was a full
He was a full
and
Ferrari fan
fanatic.
again.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
Ferrari
full
fan.
Ferrari fan. Yeah.
And Chris Goodwin actually was a test driver for McLaren road cars.
Yeah,
So
he was one of the
was
test drivers for the McLaren F1. The
F1. So he's super
the
pedigree.
car that,
And
yeah,
Karan
that I think
Chandok is a test driver and for I think BMW heritage cars.
BMW Heritage.
Sorry,
cars.
who's that?
I didn't know
Who's
that.
Williams heritage cars.
Williams Heritage cars.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. He
Talking
was
about-
who's that? Karun Chandok, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Karun Chandok. Yeah, Karun Chandok was there. I'm thinking Chris Goodwin where he went and drove
No.
Williams cars.
No, that's not. Yeah, Chris Goodwin has always been with McLaren.
McLaren. Yeah.
Cool. So let's just, go then further forward. You have obviously the years of absolute success and the best years of for
Best
us
years.
watching
Yeah.
2000 to 2005, 2000 to
Amazing.
2004, 2001, 2, 3, 4. So you have five in a row.
Right.
So these are the
Again,
best days of watching for whom?
for us, man.
Both
See
of
the
us.
guy. Look at
For
that's a guy.
us. So
He's
for
keeping
us
it
means who's the us is what I'm
for me
asking.
and for all the legions of Ferrari fans. I'm saying. So
Okay.
2000 2004, you saw obviously we saw you know uh, arguably the greatest F1 driver of all time with outstanding performance, and as Tifosi you had the glory years.
Yeah.
Then you had
Also to
Hmm.
interrupt, I think did you guys see? I think yesterday or day before was the 10-year anniversary of Michael having that
Michael's
crash,
the
if I'm not
accident. Yeah,
mistaken. So
yeah,
so
it's
it's
10 year
quite
anniversary.
a coincidence that we're doing this podcast with
Yeah, man.
Mr.
It
Ferrari
was
himself today.
it was uh, yeah, it still it saddens me that a guy who was in an extreme sport without your halos, without as much
Immortal while driving, he was.
yeah, immortal while driving, but fate had something else written for him with the
His,
crash in a snowmobile, which is
his
it's
birthday is
incredibly
on 25th.
sad. Yeah, it's incredibly sad, and the fact that the guy is living the way he's living, I think, is again a guy who lived on the edge. Even post, he had that adrenaline rush, and everything that he did. It's just sad to see him in this.
Honestly speaking, I think if he was in a better condition in terms of health and all, I think he would be associated with the Ferrari team
Yeah,
somewhere or
in
the other.
some little, at least in yes.
Like how Niki Lauda was for
Yeah, yeah,
Mercedes
yeah,
to an
absolutely.
extent.
Yeah, correct,
I
correct.
think because he would
Yeah, as an
think about it
ambassador,
very
come.
differently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he would have. I mean, he got the team back to glory because we had a big drop off, in the late 80s and early 90s.
yeah.
So 2004, then we go into 5, 6. You obviously had Alonso, the young
Putting
Alonso.
everybody apart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
again, those two championships though were super close and fun. No? They
bang,
were,
yeah, yeah,
and the second one especially, I think Michael's engine went in
yeah.
Suzuka, and that kind of handed this guy the title. But again, very closely
Was
fought,
some
and
wheel to wheel
This
and
was 2005 you're talking about?
six,
5, 6. I think
five,
6.
Okay.
five, and 6 was when
Because
Michael's engine went.
7
yeah,
Kimi won.
6. Yeah, so 5 was, I think, it was between Alonso and Kimi, if I'm not mistaken. And I think 2005 Alonso
Yeah,
won,
I
even
think
though he
both of
had
them were
lesser
close.
race wins than
Yeah,
Kimi,
then Michael
than
in
Kimi
6, in
in
5.
5.
What
So 5 was the
Ferrari
season
had
where
that
they
much of a
weren't.
drop off. They went into third.
Yeah. 5 was when Kimi was, I think, on 7 with his wins, and Alonso had 5, if I'm not mistaken. But 2005 was the season where they had this rule where you couldn't change your tires, or you had to drive with
Oh,
one set of tires. And then, so Kimi and McLaren had the quickest car, but they weren't very great with their
the tires.
reliability. Yeah,
Oh,
reliability. So Kimi, I
reliability.
think,
Yeah, you're
crashed.
right.
He crashed.
See, this.
He crashed, I think, in Silverstone on the last lap also, because he couldn't go and change his tires unless he had a major safety issue. So they didn't pit, and he crashed, I think, on the last lap.
Till date, I still don't understand the FIA rules because I just find it
Those rules are very.
beyond my understanding. Only they understand it, or maybe not too dumb. In spite of investing so much of my time into the sport, I just find these rules really bizarre.
Those that rule book and all is very complicated, man. I don't think any of us would truly comprehend the ins and outs of it, and they also don't fully understand because there's always a gray area in the application of those rules. So that's what causes controversy and this and that. But yeah, just coming back to Shashu's this thing,
It's a
2005,
championship
he's
because
absolutely
of
right. He's absolutely right in that Kimi was second, on 112. Alonso was 133 and Michael was 62. So our man has followed Kimi Raikkonen very
Yeah,
intently.
that's why he's got the Iceman tattoo. Can we just see
Yeah,
it?
yeah, correct.
He's
So
got-
he's right
Man.
there. So let's just move on. 5, 6, 7. You had Kimi coming and winning it for Ferrari. Then you had 2008 was Braun. Yeah, 2008 was Braun.
Oh, there's a
2008 was
documentary on Disney on Braun.
yeah. 2008 was Braun. Then you had the Vettel years,
Yeah.
and
Oh, what?
then you obviously went into the
The
Mercedes-Benz
hypercar.
era.
Yeah.
Now the reason I'm trying to
Correct.
just complete this timeline is I want to get to the point where we move into Liberty's ownership, which is 16 or 16. Was it 16? Let me just
Yeah, I think
see.
it was around 16, 17, 16.
Wait. So this wasn't 14 is when it bought the rights to F. I mean, it
Yeah,
bought
so
over
maybe
F1.
15. So when was the first season of Drive to Survive out? 2018,
years ago.
19?
We just come to that. So basically, so since Liberty came in, so Hari, as a fan, now you are one of us in terms of you've been part of the sport for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, how have things changed under Liberty? What you like, possibly that what you don't like. If you could just tell us a little bit, given that you come from a lineage of, not lineage, but being a fan for 20 plus years. So you've got enough of a point of reference to tell us what you think of the change, what you've liked, what you've done, what you've not liked.
Honestly speaking, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, look, it's got its pros and cons also, but I mean, most of us here probably would like to watch a race, and that's it. This entertainment, getting into people's lives, sponsorship of people, and all is good, but at the cost of what? If you look at the drivers earlier, it was just more focused towards driving, and how contributing in terms of building the car, and things like that. But with an entertainment company like Liberty coming into the picture, obviously more reach for the sport, more getting people more aware is one good side of it. But there's the other side of it, where everyone's getting distracted also. Is how I look at it. I mean, entertainment in support is good, but at the cost of what? I mean, all these drivers do live a flamboyant lifestyle and everything, but for me, I would say let's just keep it to the races and in and out, nothing more than that. Is how I look at it. I mean, I think the sport has got it's a niche sport, no doubt about that. Everybody knows. Even without Liberty coming to the picture, Formula One was always a niche sport. Not many people know about it. Hardcore race into US or probably were involved in it. But I think since Liberty has come into the picture, I think it's made the sport a little more dirty. Is how I look at it. Because I'm as a fan,
I would tend to agree with Hari.
I'm a guy who I think
It is a very niche sport, like you said.
I'm fortunate enough to see a race live once a year, and I love watching a race, going to the circuit, seeing the cars go at rapid speed. But there is so much of distraction happening around also. I mean, people are getting drunk on the circuit. I mean, going and enjoying somewhere else while the races are going on, or practice is going on, or qualifying is going on. It negates the experience of watching a race live. People are talking, people are doing this and that. It doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean,
We'll come to the race experience, on track.
Okay, fine.
I have a
So
couple of questions lined
that's
up on that also.
what do you think about Liberty taking home?
Sashu, you had
So
something
I just
to.
wanted to add that, yeah, if you look at a Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend, it's okay with having certain support things that are happening
Yeah.
with the F1, but I think you should keep that as the support. You can't have the F1 to be a support to the rest of the weekend. So you can't have music shows and etc 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 happening, and then at the back of that have a race happening. I think the race should be at
Fun
the forefront.
parties and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the race should be, I think, at the forefront. But I also, like you said, F1 is it was and is quite a niche sport. So uh, it's great that I mean, Liberty has managed to get a few more fans in, and also I think they've kind of managed to change the demographic of the fans. There are a lot more women getting into the sport. There are a lot
Yeah.
more younger people also that are getting into the sport, and as even for me, I think one more pro is that yeah, Liberty is a entertainment company, but I think I would give them credit for having the guts to just try stuff. So earlier, F1
Which
was
is
such a closed entity that people who are not the FIA was not ready to even try anything. So that is Liberty
correct.
is okay with trying stuff. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, let's move on with it. So I think the attitude also that has been brought into the sports by Liberty is good. But yeah, I for a fan who's been watching this sport for 25 years, I think it's been a 3-4 years where I think there is a lot more focus on the non racing or motorsport part of it, which I think they have to get back.
It's become more commercialized, is what I feel. I mean, like from niche to
Yeah,
commercialized.
and
No.
I would also not
Yeah.
put it on Liberty, because I think sport as such, the world as
Is
such, has
evolving
become a
also.
lot more commercialized. So it's just not a sport, it's become like a business. So even if you take like we were talking about it even the last time, so the a driver is just not about the driver. Now people look at the driver also as somebody who is marketable, uh, getting maybe uh, funds or endorsement deals for the company. So yeah, you kind of got to look at
Yeah,
it
yeah. True,
from a
true.
broader perspective of not only a sport, but this is how just the world has gotten, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
valid. I mean, look, again, there are pros and cons, but
yeah,
like how you and me said, we one of those old school fans, who would
Correct.
probably not even wonder what's happening in the driver's personal life. It's either the team or your favorite driver doing well at that given day, and that's it. Look forward for the next race, and or probably if it's a good race, probably with the lower B grade teams also, then talk about it. But I mean, that's my point of view on this. What about you, Kunal?
so yeah, I think for me, yeah, I kind of agree with you all. All I'll say is I think Liberty took over at a time where actually F1 was very close to being completely irrelevant because the demographic, like Sashu said, was becoming extremely old. They weren't able to, and Bernie Eccleston, as such, he was a pioneer in the 90s, but as he gotten a little older, I think he was also very stringent in that, my way or the highway. So he was not very open to new suggestions and things that could have been done. So I think Liberty coming in basically was a breath of fresh air in terms of at least it was not going to be one man running the show without anyone questioning him in any way, and the sport required a reset because if you look at the viewing numbers and all demographics, obviously older people. So while I think a lot of us are those fans who know the sport and the engineering side of things, will understand what's what from a very minute granular level of what the team is doing, what the driver is doing, what's happening. I think that it's very important to add those casual fans because the casual fans are the younger fans, so you have you've got people involved at a time which is much younger, so you have fans for the next 20-25 years.
Yeah.
So in that way, I think it was a good starting point. Like again, you mentioned and what Shashu mentioned, a lot of pros and cons. They've got a lot of things right and they've got a lot of things wrong. In terms of wrong, I'll be, I think I can critically, talk about, a couple of wrongs. One is, I think they've one thing which we're seeing is they've ate their street circuits. I mean, a lot of the street circuits are absolute shit, and the
Yeah.
way they've over, like, because obviously commercially it makes sense, so on and so forth. I think they're getting more and more Americanized. uh, and I think if you say in Europe, out of 10 fans, you have 6 fans or 7 fans who are like us, who not necessarily have followed the sport from 20 plus years, but they
It's
like
pleasant
more
for
about
me.
the speed.
It's
You more correct, more about the speed, more about in the technical aspects, driver, all of that.
the
While on the
action.
American side, you have
Yeah.
vice versa. You probably have three people who really look into the depth of it, while 7 people look at, who's dating
Red Bull
who,
and
what's
Mercedes.
happening. Correct. So you have, those kind of fans, so they're kind of trying to obviously always keep the balance, but right now I think they're getting the balance wrong. They're moving far towards the American side of things, which is pure entertainment, and absolute, nonsensical things which happen around the sport. Which also brings me to the elephant in the room, or should I say elephant on this podcast, which is Drive to Survive. Now, Drive to Survive, to begin with, I think was a great platform to get people involved. But over the last last couple of seasons, I think it's gotten redundant for someone like me and you. And I know Hari has a lot of thoughts on Drive to Survive, so I'll allow him to take over at this point and tell us what he thinks about Drive to Survive, and especially the fans of Drive to Survive. I think you have terminologies for them.
Call them BTS pundits. I mean, look, okay, have to give it. I think you and me saw the first season together in
Hmm.
Bombay. In
Yeah,
Bombay.
yeah.
The first season was really good. I have to
Hmm.
give it to them. Okay, they really, really did a good show. But I think that they need to stop production here immediately. It is just insane. Not the word. Where's Shashuka?
Easier,
I think
easier.
he was shocked. Yeah. It's bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. I mean, why do we? I mean, as true fans, let's just focus on the sport, not into anybody's personal lives or what happens behind closed doors. I mean, you will tend to lose respect for your team, or for your driver, or Bottas getting naked on the show and stuff like that. Like, what is going on? I mean, I don't want to know all this. It's for me, it's how my team and drivers performing, and that's it. An old school Formula One fan or a Tifosi, stick to that. And I mean, it's a good thing because of Drive to Survive. A lot of kids have
Hmm.
started following the sport, who have no idea what they're talking in life. I mean, I've had few conversations with people who followed Drive to Survive and then started watching the sport. It's impossible to have a conversation. Impossible. They
No,
have
I
no
agree.
idea. They have no idea what they're talking about, and it is bizarre. You know, I mean, the V6 hybrid era to me is nothing great. They have no idea about the V8, V12, and the V10 era. So, so the level of conversation just revolves around Verstappen and Hamilton, and how great the race was in Abu Dhabi when Verstappen won his first world championship. I mean, the level of stupidity and the where they speak is very high. I mean, it just my blood boils and I get really upset with how they speak. I mean, they have no idea who McLaren as a team back in the day was. Williams as a team back in the day was. Ferrari, how great they were. Nobody knew what happened in 2018 when Vettel almost lost the championship at Hockenheim.
Yeah.
Just Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull. Lewis Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton. That's all they talk.
Yeah,
And
they attracted to personalities. I mean, that's how, people, I
and
mean,
they
Gen
highly
Z.
influenced also.
Yeah, they influenced, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They influenced by the lifestyle. They're not influenced by the fact that these guys are at the top of their game. They're more
yeah.
influenced about the lifestyle, about the circus around it. Oh, this. Yeah,
yeah. I
I
mean, yeah.
It's
I think
to
Drive
have
to
a
Survive, like you said, it started off being something else. But like you said, I don't know if they should stop production of that, because I feel like maybe you'll get like newer audience with Drive to Survive, but I think they should two things. I think they should focus more on the driving and the motorsport part of it. So I think that will help also with the action that happens on track, because you won't have some Will.i.am coming and singing some song which has 3 words in his lyrics. Second thing, I think I tend to agree with Hari. I'm glad that he brought that point up, that maybe Drive to Survive should also look at history of F1 and maybe try and incorporate that into a few of its episodes, with what happened with the V8 and the V10 and V12 era, and talking about drivers and
nobody knows who's
team principles of the past. Also talk a little more about the technical aspect of it now and before, and then also maybe say, okay, how it came from the V12 to the V10 to the V6 hybrid that we are at right now. So there is a lot of other stuff also that can be filled, that can be used to fill the episodes and have, I think, better quality content. So I think you want the kids, or you want the newer fans and the present generation to get into the sport, but I think you don't want them to only know the glamour and the glitz of it. You want them to know even the technical and the historical aspect of the sport. So I think, yeah, you have to kind of balance that.
I'll tell you. I think yeah, this year Kunal and me were in Barcelona for the race, and I saw a guy wearing a Mercedes cap and a Red Bull T-shirt.
yeah.
I mean, I don't need to say anything more on that. I mean, not one, few. McLaren cap and a Williams T-shirt, and you will get to know. Hey, that's Drive to Survive. It's really sorry. And fan base of the sport has probably accelerated to a great percentage, but at the cost of what? I mean, you have no idea what
No,
you're
I
talking
agree
about.
that person should not have been
I mean,
allowed
it
into the Grand Prix.
was really sad. You ask them to name 2 drivers, also they won't tell you. It's like,
Yeah, that short guy, the cute guy, that kind
Yeah,
of.
the guy with the girlfriend who has this.
Charles Sainz, like that. It's really sad.
Cool. So let's just go a little bit further now, delve into your experience of watching the sport live. So what was the first race that you watched on track? I'm sure you remember it.
Austin in 2018 was my first race.
You didn't see the one in India?
No.
Oh, the
I
first one
got
was.
last hour tickets, not last minute tickets. One day in advance, last hour, I got a call from my friend saying that, would you like to come to Delhi? I have 2 tickets for the race.
Oh,
So I
okay.
said,
So 2018, that's when Kimi won, right? So
Kimi won. I was
you've
watching,
seen
yeah,
Kimi's
2000.
last race
Yeah,
victory.
yeah.
Wow, that's
It's
a
a brilliant track also. Austin is a brilliant track.
yeah.
Yeah, outstanding. And it was great to see Kimi win. It was
Yeah,
like
it would have
thousand.
been.
Yeah,
And first
I'm
time you'd
fully
have
jealous.
obviously, when
I'm
you're on
fully
track,
jealous that you watched his last win.
It was amazing, and it
I
was
think,
pure
and
win with Hamilton. That
yeah, yeah. And basically, I think if your first experience, again, it's something that, people who, hear us or, watch this podcast, a lot of them, kind of are on the fence. I like, watching once in a while, this, that. But, for you also, your experience of the first time you're on track, you know, I feel it's a wow moment that none of us can truly express in words. What
yeah,
did you feel that that
Yeah.
wow moment with the sound,
yeah,
speed?
especially so I was on a turn where these cars come at really rapid speed,
Hmm.
and then you have the downshifts of the gear, which is just insane, and then they pick up speed again. So I mean,
Yeah.
usually I would even when I saw it at Silverstone or even in Singapore and Barcelona, is we usually take seats like that, where the cars come at really rapid speed and slow down. You hear great downshift and they go like zooming
So
again.
so
It's a
you've
great,
seen you've seen Texas, you've seen Silverstone. Silverstone would have been a fabulous experience,
yeah,
I'm sure. The
outstanding.
sheer speed,
Silverstone is like the mecca of Formula One. Hands
absolutely.
down. Yeah, yeah.
And incidentally, we've seen the next two races together,
It's
which is
together, yeah. And
Singapore.
hopefully the one after that also.
Yeah, so we got wet in the rain before
Yes.
the race, and we watched it completely drenched. We didn't
Friends,
have
yeah.
a poncho. No one offered us a poncho. There was no poncho. So we kind of got
Singapore was
fully.
good. Singapore was good. Would I
Yeah,
like to see
Singapore was.
Singapore?
Singapore is. Yeah, Singapore is more. I think we also sat at a turn where there was. I mean, there aren't too many places where there's action in Singapore, but we sat,
Yeah,
I think, somewhere where there was a lot of action, and it's just it is, it's glitz and glamour in the right amount. It is a
yeah,
night race, but the
Yeah,
focus is
correct.
still heavily on what's happening, and it's a very technical track,
yeah.
difficult conditions. So
It's hot
that
also.
correct. And then finally, obviously, Spain was the last one that again we
I think
watched
Spain
together.
was my best experience.
Spain was my best experience as well, and
Yeah,
I
I mean
think
we
it
were so.
was.
I mean those seats were just mind blowing.
Yeah, it was really. Spain is one. At least turn one is you're so close to the track
Yeah,
in terms of
outstanding.
where you're seated. So it was. Yeah, it was a
No, if
great.
I ever see a race again in Barcelona, I'm going to take the same seats for sure.
Yeah. So now
For sure.
coming
2024,
to.
Arjun.
Yeah. So
We
2024. What
go.
are you? What are you looking at in terms of picking? Are you planning on races? What's on your bucket list for maybe not just 24? What are the races? What are the three races that you really want to see?
Live.
If Yeah, live. Yeah.
Would
What
like to.
what are the three that you really want to see?
I have the calendar open on my wallpaper. So, honestly speaking, I would like to probably go and watch either Imola or Monaco in May. And honestly,
Hmm.
Monaco grandstand tickets are not that very expensive. Also, they'll be a
Really?
little more
That's
than Spain. They'll be a little more
okay.
than Spain on a turn, and the same seats we usually take. I think they'll be about 10 grand more than what we pay in Spain. What we paid
Hmm.
for Spain. So yeah,
So Monaco, Imola.
Imola and open to Austria also. In Austria
Hmm.
is in July. Yeah, end of June
Yeah, the
is what
thing
I.
is, he wants to go to Austria, put on like full Ferrari merchandise, and
That's okay.
be. Yeah, no, that's what you're a ballsy guy. You're gonna go there, sit in the Red Bull grandstand. You take the seat also in the Red Bull grandstand and go to Tifosi Ferrari fan. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I
Uh,
honestly speaking, I mean, I'm very selective with who I want to go for a race, and I'm the most comfortable with Kunal because it's the same wavelength. Otherwise, I prefer watching a race alone because A is you don't have to explain anybody something what's going on.
Oh
You
yeah,
will
I
obviously,
get that, man. Yeah, I
you
don't
will
want to do
obviously
that.
see TTS fan for sure sitting next to you with a Red Bull cap and a Mercedes t-shirt. So what that and all? No. So, I mean, I usually prefer watching a race together. I mean, watching a race with Kunal or probably watching it
so
by myself.
So Sashu also, the reason he completely, I think he laughed at what you were saying in terms of I'd rather watch it alone than tell people
Yeah.
what's happening, is because
Yeah.
we had done a
It's
Singapore
a picnic you're
race.
going for. It's not a picnic you're going for.
Correct. So we had gone for a Singapore race in 17, I think, or 16. Sorry. And there again, we had one of our friends who had just joined, and he was asking the most stupid questions, and you thought Sashu will throw him on the track only, saying, "Don't talk rubbish."
Yeah, man. I mean, I literally like changed my seats. You know what I said? I'm a bounce.
He was
I'm going to
next to
sit
him,
somewhere
and he
else.
went
Yeah, I'm
and
going to sit somewhere else because I can't look at. I can't see the cars properly. That is my
You
excuse.
are 1.5 hour watching the race, and
yeah.
probably qualifying is for 1 hour. Where
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to chill, man? And you want to see best action, I mean, and anyways, the cars go so fast, I mean, like grabbing attention also, it's a task. And in the middle, people are talking, oh, where are we going for drinks after this? What is Taylor Swift performing at 8 o'clock, or who is performing? We wait for the presentation ceremony and all that. It's come on, it's like that. But yeah, I mean, I would love to watch a race live once a year and continue the tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arjun,
Yeah.
one thing I think I wish you had watched the race at least with the V8 engines, because the V8 sounds so much better than the V6 hybrids. Even though the V6 hybrids still do sound good, but
Now
the
sound
V8s were
better. Now
awesome.
sound much better.
Yeah, now maybe better, but the V8s was something else. And I haven't watched the race with the V10s, but yeah, I would imagine that the V10s were even a notch or level above the V8s. But I wish you had watched it at least with the V8s.
Yeah, we got a chance with the V8 because we went for the first Indian
We
Grand
went to
Prix.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Indian, the first
Yeah.
Indian Grand
That's when
Prix.
Vettel won the world championship.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So just couple of more things, Hari. Again, just not going to put you on the spot, but yeah. So firstly, your overall thoughts on the 2023 season, and looking into the crystal ball for 2024. What are your predictions? What's going to happen?
2023. Okay, you have to give credit to Red Bull and Max for the way the car is performed and the way he's driven. Okay, I mean, he's gone down in the books of history as one of the greatest drivers for sure. 3 back-to-back world championships, and this year also the league in terms of points was bizarre. He
Yeah.
was at some 500 points or something like that, and the other driver was at some 400 or some 390 odd. So, which is great.
No, dude, he wasn't even 300. He was
He was
200 and
500.
something.
He was
Okay,
250 plus
yeah,
points, I
so
think.
he-
Ahead of
Yeah,
Perez.
like he wasn't even 300, Perez.
Anyone
yeah,
can be ahead of Perez, but
imagine the amount of money Max had to pay for his renewing his super license.
yeah, because of the number of points he got.
So bizarre, but yeah, I mean, great driver. I mean, he's that guy who'll take the risk at the cost of his life also. So
Yeah.
full Senna mentality. I mean, but I don't like Max's attitude, but that's aside. I mean, you have to give him full credit for what he's done. No distractions, nothing.
See, this shows you're not a DTS driver. Yeah, I mean DTS fan.
So you have to give him credit. And coming back to Ferrari, yes, I think they are slowly improving. I mean, Sainz was the only guy to win apart from Red Bull this season race. So, I think with the new team principal coming, I think some changes would be made. Again, you have to give him a chance. What am I looking at 2024 overall is I hope to see more podiums with Ferrari. I don't know if the capability is still there for them winning a world championship next year. If it happens, nothing like that. It's a money shot. But
Yeah.
I think with the new era which is going to start in 2026, I think everyone's channelizing their energies and focusing towards that. And I'm
Correct.
hoping to see Ferrari back in action at least in the next 2 years. Yeah, because I think Leclerc's signed a contract till to 2029.
Yeah, he's
So
put all his balls in Ferrari's court now.
uh,
I mean, you can for
they
me,
better give him a good car. They
yeah,
better
personally,
give.
I think if Leclerc finishes his career without one world championship, I think
It's a
that would
big
be a little
no-no.
unfair. Yeah, I think he's
For me, he's
one of
one of the
those
great. I mean, like if I have to
very
name my top
talented.
five
Yeah, one of the
drivers,
top talents in the sport. Especially from the newcomers, I think you have Lando who's very good. You have Leclerc who's very good. You've actually got. I mean, as much as I make fun of him, Draco is. I mean, he's good. I think being Lewis Hamilton's teammate, George Russell, has a little bit of up. He's had an up and down season. He's also extremely good, but just coming back to something that we mentioned, at the start was, the quality of drivers at this point in this sport
I like
are the
Gasly
best
somehow.
we've
I
seen for
think
a
there's a
very long
lot of potential in Gasly.
in
I like
Gasly. Okay.
Gasly a lot, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, good driver, bad car
Yeah, yeah,
is what I
yeah.
feel.
Gasly
Yeah,
is
even
good.
same like Ricciardo. I mean, great driver, bad car. So yeah,
Fair,
so
fair.
that's the thing.
So yeah,
I
I
think
think you're mildly optimistic, I would say, for Ferrari's chances. So
just
I think
talking about past history. That's why because we've been struggling here. I mean, being giants and unable to win a world
yeah,
championship is a problem. If you see,
correct.
major problem.
Yeah, he said, that's
I
a
don't
good
know.
word,
So
mildly optimistic, because he said more podiums. He didn't say more race wins.
Paused or something. Hello, hello.
hello. Chok, just hold on.
It's hung.
Yeah, it's hung because of internet issues at mine. He'll come
Okay,
back and
okay,
we can
okay,
continue. Then I'll just
okay,
put
okay,
everything
okay,
together. Just hold on.
okay.
Hello. This internet went. No, it's coming back. So I'll just get back on. What shit, रे भाई इसकी? Call रे भाई. Basics also we want. Okay, anyways, we'll have to just stitch it up. So I'll restart it again. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you a message.
So yeah, coming back to potential drivers, I think I really like Gasly. I mean, for how grounded he is as a person also, and he really tries to do as much as he can with the car. I see a lot of potential in him. He's also very young, so
How old
and
is he?
he's
He's 26, 27. Yeah,
26
he's.
27. Yeah, so he's got age on his hands also. I think
Hmm.
so. Let's see. Norris is
I
very
think.
good.
Yeah, Norris is very good. We have to again see how he performs once under the pressure of having a car for the championship. That's when finally that's the final,
Yeah,
piece of the puzzle. Can you take it on when the pressure's on? And
correct,
Gasly for me, I think I think the problem for Gasly is kind of in no man's land now.
correct.
He's had a shot with Red Bull, so I don't think he'll go back. He's in a team which is absolutely chaotic. No one knows what is happening at Alpine.
Yeah, no one knows.
So that is so.
But then, who
I
do you
mean,
think
he'll
is
have
going
to.
to go to Red Bull once Sergio? Sergio Perez goes.
Yeah, that's
I don't
that's
know. They
the
might just get Alonso and say, "Run the show now."
no, no. It's
Yeah, because I think
the poison chalice that second Red Bull seat.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
going to be tricky. So 2026 is, I mean, never say never with Gasly. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously this is
but
a
I think what they did to him was atrocious. They did to him
mm,
and Albon. I think Red Bull has really gone and played dirty with them, which I don't think they should. Like you move from
yeah. I
Alpha
mean,
to
there's the thing with them is obviously they don't give the drivers enough time, which is true.
yeah. I mean the
Uh,
confidence of the driver
but
also goes.
also that delta between Max and the others, because I don't know, I think Shashu actually showed me that podcast of Alex Albon where he was talking, I think,
Yes,
peak
I know. I saw
performance.
that. I saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that.
about how
Max,
different Max's driving style is.
of the
So it's
computer cursor which he was
yeah, I
talking
think he
about.
spoke. I think it made a
Yes.
lot of sense. It made a lot of sense as to what he was saying in terms of why it's so difficult, because it's yeah, it's one thing is to have the car on the nose, but that darty, that means you have to have a very unique set of skills to be managing the car
Correct,
at
correct.
that kind of setup. So let's see. Just some closing thoughts, Hari. This is just more a question to you about the popularity of the sport, obviously in India and specifically in Bombay. Uh, and also, do you think we'll have a driver on the grid, from an Indian driver on the grid by the end of the decade? Driver, or perhaps I think the better shot for us would be to get a race back in India. What are your thoughts, your closing thoughts, on this?
I think you will see an Indian driver soon on the circuit. I think Jayan Daruwala is also doing whatever he can, but in Formula E and
Yeah, yeah.
Formula 2 and things like that. But I think we should have an Indian driver in the next 10 years easily. I mean,
In the
because
next 10 years.
Indian motorsport is also picking up at a very drastic pace. You've got the FIA Formula 4 uh, events which are also happening here,
Hmm.
things like
Hmm.
that. I
Hmm.
think people are being, and what's the community out here which looks into motorsport?
FMSCI, I think it's called
Yes, yes,
Federate.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think they're doing also whatever they can to you know get more coverage to the sport here and there. I think the Booth circuit will open in the next 2 years.
Hmm.
I'm also reading about it. Next 2-3 years it will open, and
Mm-hmm.
because as per FIA standards, it's one of the best circuits ever built. But
No, it was a great circuit.
yeah,
Yeah, when we also watched the race, it was a lovely circuit in terms of it
but we
had
can't
character.
handle logistics. So let's see.
Never say never.
Yeah, it
And
was
what
a whole
about
lot of logistics and bureaucracy, I think, that led to the
bureaucracy,
Grand
right?
Prix
Yeah, red tape.
getting
Yeah,
cancelled.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the MotoGP happened in Delhi this year, and it was
Mm.
extremely badly organized. Half the guys didn't get the
Yeah.
visa on time. Yeah,
Oh shit.
so
Okay, I
like
didn't know.
some of the crew
I didn't
members
know.
couldn't come, and also
That is ridiculous.
the entertainment tax is extremely high out.
High.
So I mean,
So the cost of the ticket for the end consumer
you will
also
see
is
lesser
a bit.
people coming
Yeah.
for the rewards.
The only thing I would say is the difference between purely from from a fan's perspective is, when we saw the race first in 2012, was the race correct? 2012. 2012
Yeah, I
was
think
that
2011,
11?
12.
2011 was
11 or
the
12.
first.
Maybe 11 was the
11,
first.
11.
Yeah, the
11,
first
11,
time
11,
that it was. Yeah.
11, 11,
So
yeah.
it in more than 12, I mean 12 years, I think a key difference is when you sit in a room of 10 people. Back then you would probably be the only one who knew about Formula 1. Now in a room of 10, largely down to Drive to Survive, I think you have 5-6 people who know about the sport in different levels. So
Yeah.
I think the fan base has exploded, I think, in India, specifically in Bombay.
Majorly.
Specifically in Bombay, do you go to a place where they screen it live, and what's the experience been like to go to a live screening of a race in Bombay?
So I have been to a few. I mean,
Mm.
actually quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that great because you have your Drive to Survive fans there, and again, and the conversations are absolutely bizarre what they're having. So
Mm.
I prefer watching it at home or alone or probably at a friend's house.
Mm.
That's it.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think I would want to go and see a race at a pub again. Because, I mean, it's really sorry to see and hear what they speak, and again, it's more of Red Bull and Mercedes fans. So, I prefer watch. I mean, you can't stoop down to their level of having a conversation. Be a true fan and say that. I mean, no offense to anybody, but it's not what I would probably spend 500 rupees on also. Though it's like a full cover and a bar, I wouldn't want it. I prefer watching it at home on the F1 TV app. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. I think that's a great note to finish on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hari, for being part of the podcast.
Thanks for
I think
having
it's a
me on
great
this
start
show.
to
Yeah.
the Fan Zone podcast, and we hope to bring in more fans like you, because the idea being we want a voice for the Indian fan to talk about their experiences, and the fact that it is a sport that's picking up, and we want more coverage, we want more energy around the sport in the Indian context, with the hope being that we get the Indian Grand Prix back on the calendar soon.
Yeah.
And the bigger thing being if we can have someone to support on the grid, an Indian driver, that would be simply lovely. So
I'm hoping Ferrari winning as soon as possible. Yeah.
yeah. Cool, Hari. So I'm just I think Shashu, any closing thoughts? I think we can just close the episode. Anything to say before we say goodbye for the
Yes.
last time in 2023? Yeah.
I think
Closing
Hari
thoughts.
summed it up pretty well. Looking forward to the 21st season. Also, I just hope that Lando Norris doesn't remain that one driver who doesn't have a win at the end of 2024. I think he's
He
too
deserves
good a
it.
driver to not have a win on this current grid. So hope that at least happens in 2024.
Cool. Awesome. That's a great note to end. So thank you again, Hari, and see
Thank
you
you guys,
guys on the next one. We'll
Hopefully,
come.
the four of us get to watch a race soon. Three of us get to watch a race soon. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ciao, see
I
you
think
guys. See
that
you.
should be
See you.
good. Okay,
Thank
see
you.
you.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.